ancient Egyptian empire was located primarily in northeastern Africa. It originated in the kingdoms of Abydos and Hierakonpolis and spread upwards towards Memphis in the Mediterranean Sea. By 1250 BC, ancient Egypt had gained control of all the land from the Syrian coast in the north to the Red Sea in the east, all the way to Nubia in the south, and the Libyan desert in the west.
Ancient Egypt was divided into two lands, the Black and the Red. The Black land was a fertile land on the Nile bank, used for growing crops. It was the only farmable land due to black, fertile silt left after floods from the Nile. The Red land was a barren desert used to protect Egypt, which served as a border. It provided precious metals and stones. Egypt was also divided into Upper and Lower Egypt, with Upper Egypt in the south and Lower Egypt in the north.
The climate in ancient Egypt was devastatingly dry and hot, except on the northern Mediterranean coast, which received a larger amount of rainfall. In winter, however, it was very cold, and in both seasons, extreme winds could wreak havoc among the people.
The ancient Egyptians retrieved water from the Nile River. It is about 6,670 kilometers in length, making it the longest river in the world. When it flooded, this provided silt and fertile soil for successful farming. Nearly all ancient Egyptian villages were along the Nile. The floods were predictable, so people were able to strategically farm and settle. During floods, people worked on construction for the pharaoh.
Pyramids were a cornerstone of Egyptian architecture. The pyramids were built as tombs for the pharaohs and their queens, and also as images of power.
The first pyramids were step pyramids and were built with layers. True pyramids, unlike step pyramids, had a smooth layer of limestone which flattened out the faces. Because it was not as attractive as the true pyramid, the step style was abandoned.
The largest problem in building the pyramid was getting the huge blocks up to their needed heights. The solution was the ramp, though several had to be used during construction, as the ramps needed to be extended as building progressed. Also, short moats were needed to level out the land.
Hello, my name is Sneferu. I built the first pyramids. My first pyramid, the pyramid at Media, began as a step pyramid, but was then modified to form the first true pyramid. Unfortunately, it was unstable, and the blocks slipped, and it was abandoned. Next, I built the bed pyramid, which was crooked and partly caved in. Finally, I built the red pyramid, named for its red limestone blocks, and this was the first successful pyramid. The most famous pyramids of all were the pyramids of Giza.
Hello, my name is Khufu, son of Sneferu. I built the first and largest Giza pyramid. This pyramid was established during flood season when much of Egypt was unemployed. I sent farmers and citizens to work on the pyramids, and in return, I rewarded them with good food and clothing. My people loved me for this, and I was remembered fondly.
Hello, my name is Khafre, son of Khufu, and I built the second pyramid at Giza. My pyramid appears taller than my father's, since I thought of myself better than my father Khufu, though it was really just built on higher ground. I also built the Great Sphinx, whose face was modeled after mine.
I am Enkaru, son of Khafre. My third and final pyramid of Giza was less than half the height of my grandfather Khufu's.
Temples were built in the belief that gods and goddesses lived there. Through temples, the Egyptians kept peace with gods so that they would bestow protection and prosperity upon the people.
The temples were built from durable stone. The walls were covered with artwork depicting gods, goddesses, and pharaohs. The facade, or entrance, was comprised of two blocks called a pylon.
Directly in front of the facade were two obelisks, or tall towers. Then came the courtyard, the farthest place any ordinary Egyptian could go. Here, ceremonies were held.
Next came a series of halls leading to the sanctuary, the most secret and special part of the temple. Here was the shrine where the god or goddess would have lived. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh was the most powerful person. He ruled both Upper and Lower Egypt. He owned the land, made laws, collected taxes, and protected the Egyptians. He represented the gods, performed rituals, and built temples and monuments. Additionally, he led wars against foreign lands.
I am Ramses the Great, the second of my dynasty. I was one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. I held a 67-year-long reign, during which I conquered the Hittites and the Nubians, enslaved the Israelites, and won almost every single battle that I fought, except for that against Moses of the Israelites. He unleashed plagues upon my people, killing my firstborn son. The death of my son forced me to surrender. Soon after, my beloved wife, Nefertiti, passed away, sending me into depression. I spent the rest of my life building monuments in her honor and died from a painful disease.
I am King Menes. I am mysterious in the history of ancient Egypt, but I am believed to be the first pharaoh of all Egypt. I united Upper and Lower Egypt and began the age of the pharaohs. I married into a family of Lower Egypt to take control of all their lands. I built the city of Memphis and established worship, rituals, trade, and a proper government.
I'm Cleopatra VII. I was born in 69 BC. I married Julius Caesar, and with his power dethroned my brother, the king of Egypt, to secure my grip on Egypt as the sole ruler. After Caesar's death, I fell in love with Mark Antony of Rome. After his defeat against Caesar's great nephew, Octavian, Antony committed suicide. I followed his lead by letting a deadly snake bite me. And we died together.
Ancient Egypt's history can be split into 3 different kingdoms: the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom.
In the Old Kingdom, pharaohs were like dictators and were never questioned. It was in this time that the pharaohs built pyramids like the ones at Giza. In the Middle Kingdom, Egypt strengthened its military and defended itself from enemies. In this time, pharaohs were wise and just rulers. Also, people started worshipping Amun as the king of the gods, and pharaohs' bodies were put in hidden tombs that were vastly harder to find and rob than the pyramids. In the New Kingdom, Egypt's landmass expanded through conquest. Also, chariots, horses, and bronze weapons were introduced. The kings were buried in a space called the Valley of the Kings.
During the time of Egypt, there were various wars. One of the most important was Ramses' war against the Hittites. In his blind arrogance, he was lured into a trap by the Hittites and rushed with a small force to claim his glory. He was ambushed, but later on, when the Hittites moved in for the kill, he surprised them with his ferocity and bravery, winning the battle against enormous odds. His other soldiers were captured, however, and the two sides were forced to sign a peace treaty.
Ancient Egypt was one of the greatest empires of all time. Its battles, governments, legends, and pharaohs inspired civilizations to come.